Hey, Dan here. I want to talk to you about an article that I've talked to you about before called Rich Man, Poor Man by Richard Russell. Richard Russell was a writer in the 1900s. He was a stock market analyst. He wrote for Barron's, but his most important work, self-described, he said, was this article he wrote called Rich Man, Poor Man, where he describes the royal road to riches. And he says the royal road to riches is the power of compounding. That's his definition, the power of compounding. And he uses this great little story to tell you how to compound. It's a tale of two investors. So let's just dive in. Let me show you this. I just made it a document so that you could actually see visually all the different years that they're putting in this money. So let's pull that up real quick. So check it out. In Rich Man, Poor Man, Russell describes what he calls the royal road to riches. So he defines that as compounding. He remarks that compounding is boring, but once you get to years 7 and 8, it gets really interesting and the money starts pouring in. So here you are. You have two investors. Investor B starts at 19 years old and he just invests $2,000 for 7 years straight. And we're assuming a 10% annual return. So remember that throughout this whole thing. Investor A doesn't begin until year 26. Once investor B stops, this is when investor A begins. But look at how many years investor A is putting $2,000 in, 40 years versus 7 years. And look at the final amounts. Investor A ends up with 893,704, whereas investor B ends up with 930,641. So the total investment investor B was just $14,000 here. But the total investment of investor A was $80,000, 40 years times 2,000 each, 80,000 bucks. And investor B's 7 early years, okay, was worth more than all of investor A's 40 years of contribution. So that's the thing to take home is like, wow, that really illustrates the power of compounding that investor B only had to do 14,000 those first 7 years and then just let it go, just let it ride. And he ends up with more money than investor A there. So pretty cool example. I think it's powerful. I think we need to really examine this and contemplate on it for a little bit and just realize how valuable compounding is and that the royal road to riches is really open to everyone, but it just takes some perseverance, some intelligence of knowing how to do it and sticking through with the time aspect of doing it. And so anyone can build wealth. It just takes time and commitment. So um, hope that that can really bless you as you meditate on that, as you think about that. And yeah.